Hi everyone, this presentation is on LGBT plus identities and inequalities. So there's a lot of terminology that I'll be introducing in this PowerPoint presentation pertaining to the LGBT plus community. And if you have questions about any of these concepts or terms, feel free to reach out because there are a lot of them and they can get a little bit confusing. So the first term I want to introduce is that of gender identity. All right, so gender identity refers to one's most innermost concept of self as either male, female, a blend of both, or neither. Another way to think of gender identity is how an individual perceives themselves and what they call themselves. Gender identity can be the same or different from the sex that an individual is assigned at birth. Right? So this is an important concept. Gender and sex refer to two different things. When everyone is born in our society, they get assigned a sex at birth. Now, in most states, they get assigned a sex that is either male or female. However, this is changing. Some states are recognizing sexes beyond that. For example, intersex, which is a term that we'll introduce a little bit later in this presentation. But when we're talking about gender identity, the important thing to note with that is that the only person that can decide who their gender identity is that individual themselves. So it's a very individualistic decision, okay? When we're talking about gender identity, there's a number of terms that I want to introduce that you may or may not be familiar with. The first is cisgender. So cisgender refers to someone whose gender identity matches the sex that they were assigned at birth. Okay, so for example, at birth I was assigned the sex male. Today I identify as a man. So the gender that I identify with today, being a man, is the same as the sex that I was assigned at birth. So I am a cisgender man. So the other way to think of cisgender is that it's the opposite of the term transgender. Now, transgender has gained a lot of popularity in terms of being a widely recognized gender identity in our society, especially over the past several years. You know, we've had celebrities like Laverne Cox and Caitlyn Jenner come forward and be very public and be very open about their identity as being transgender. So what does transgender mean? Well, it's a wide-ranging term for people whose gender identity or gender expression differs from the biological sex that they were assigned at birth. So for example, if someone was assigned the sex of male at birth, but later on in their life decides that they want to identify as being a woman, whether they feel that on the inside or they prefer expressing it through their gender presentation or some combination of the two, again, gender identity is completely up to the individual to decide how they identify. So someone who chooses to identify with a gender that is different than the one that they are assigned at birth refers to transgender. Now, some people who identify as trans choose to identify as male or female after they identify as trans, and they choose to try and present as either a man or a woman in our society, along with the expectations of what masculine and feminine gender presentations are supposed to look like. However, some trans people or transgender people choose to identify as more ambiguous, gender ambiguous, meaning that they don't want to necessarily identify as a man or they don't want to identify as a woman. They'd rather identify as somewhere in between or as neither of those gender identities. So non-binary refers to a person who identifies as neither male nor female and sees themselves outside of the gender binary. And we'll talk about this gender binary in a bit here. So that's an important thing to note. People often assume that transgender people either want to be trans men, meaning they want to present as masculine and quote-unquote pass as cisgender men in our society, or vice versa. They want to present as feminine and be associated with women in our society, and that's not the case. There's a number of trans people that want to identify as non-binary or gender fluid or gender queer. There's a lot of terminology used in this regard, and those individuals don't want to be categorized as either male or female. They recognize that gender, like so many things in our society, is a social construct. It's something that we as a society give meaning to, and therefore non-binary folks want to identify beyond that gender binary in some capacity. So gender refers to our presentation of self in regards to masculinity and femininity, or neither or a lack thereof. Sexual orientation, however, refers to a person's physical and romantical and sexual attraction towards another person. So oftentimes in our society, we also understand sexuality in this binary language of either or, and in that regard, people we often refer to as heterosexual or homosexual. However, that's very limiting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But heterosexual or heterosexuality refers to a person who is sexually or romantically attracted to a person of the quote-unquote opposite gender. Now, of course, to say that a heterosexual is someone that is attracted to someone of the opposite gender means that heterosexuality presumes that there are only two genders, men and women. And this presumption is heavily contested in today's society, especially in the sociological research on sexuality. We've come to understand both gender and sexuality to be more of a spectrum rather than this binary, meaning that there's only two categories for each, right? So homosexual would typically refer to a person who's sexually or romantically attracted to people of the same gender as them. And bisexuality and queer are two terms that are gaining increasing popularity in today's society. So a bisexual is someone who is attracted to people of their own and other gender identities. The more traditional use of bisexuality as a sexual orientation was someone who's attracted to both men and women. But of course, that is limiting this idea of gender to only existing on the binary, that everyone's either man or woman. And as I've said, our society today is becoming much more open to accepting gender as a spectrum rather than as a binary. So bisexuality, or being a bisexual today, has become a more inclusive sexual orientation to simply refer to people that are attracted to both their own gender as well as either one other or multiple other genders. And lastly, queer is a term that some of you may kind of shudder when you hear this, because for a long time it was a negative slur used against the LGBT plus community. However, the LGBT plus community has really reclaimed this term recently, and it's used now as kind of an umbrella term for sexual and gender minorities who do not identify as heterosexual and or cisgender. So again, if you think back to the very beginning of class when we talked about marginalization and oppression, within each kind of social group or social demographic in society, there tends to be a privileged group and a marginalized group. But when we're talking about gender, the privileged group typically happens to be men, since, as we talked about in the previous module, we live in a patriarchal society. But also when we're talking about transgender versus cisgender folks, cisgender people are privileged in our society, and transgender people are often marginalized and oppressed. And when it comes to sexual orientation, heterosexuality is very much privileged in our society, and all sexualities that are not heterosexual, therefore, experience a great degree of oppression. So queer is, again, this umbrella term referring to all different sexual and gender minorities. Many people identify and use queer differently. For example, I identify as a queer person rather than a homosexual or a bisexual, etc., simply because it fits best for me. And that's the most important thing, again, with gender and sexual identities. It's an individual's decision. No other person can tell you what your gender or sexual identity is. You get to decide what that means for you. And for me, queer is the best representation because I identify my sexuality as one that goes against the norms of society and doesn't fit clearly into any of these other labels of that are rigidly attached to binary understandings of gender and sexuality. So, related to this discussion of privileging heterosexuality are the concepts of heteronormativity and the gender binary. So our society is built on this social system called heteronormativity, which is essentially this social system, the social structure that normalizes and privileges heterosexuality. So there's many different ways that we can see ways in which heterosexuality is privileged in our society. One of the best examples is that for centuries, it was illegal for same-gender couples to get married in the United States. And since it was illegal for them to get married, they missed out on the virtually hundreds of legal benefits and protections that marriage offers to married couples. So that's one example. Other examples are that in parts of the United States, for centuries, it was still illegal it was still legal for employers to discriminate against LGBT plus people on the basis of gender and sexual identity. However, a law was recently passed by the Supreme Court that made that illegal throughout the United States. So that was a very landmark case that just passed a few weeks ago. But nonetheless, for centuries and still today, we see that heterosexuality is privileged, and that privilege comes at the structural level in forms of, for example, being denied access to marriage or being able to be legally discriminated against in the workplace. And it also happens on the interactional or interpersonal level. For example, many queer people, get weird looks if they're seen walking down the streets holding hands with what appears to be a same-gender partner, or if they don't present in alignment with the expectations of masculinity and femininity and choose to dress more androgynously. People might get weird looks, or they might even have homophobic or transphobic slurs thrown at them. Transgender women, specifically transgender women of color, are murdered at exponentially higher rates than any other gender or sexual group or demographic in the United States. So there's lots of ways in which we see that not following either heterosexuality or the gender binary, which is this idea that there are only two genders, male or female, and that everyone must fit into them. If you don't follow heterosexuality, if you're not cisgender in our society, you experience a lot of oppression. And the flip side of that is that if you are heterosexual, specifically cisgender and heterosexual, you experience a lot of privileges in our society. So the gender binary is a social construct, which means that we created this ideal as a society. A lot of people have a hard time understanding that there could be anything other than just two genders, male and female. However, if we look at different societies, and especially look at historical comparisons, we can see how gender, just like race, is something that is socially constructed, meaning that we as a society chose that there's only two genders. For example, some societies around the world legally recognize 3 or more genders. For instance, in India and Pakistan, they recognize a third gender called Hijra, and over 100 Native American tribes in the United States recognize a third gender called Two-Spirit. So depending on what culture you're in, depending on what society you're in, different societies socially construct different categories for people to identify within their gender. And like I mentioned, here in the United States, we're becoming increasingly open to this idea that gender does not exist in a binary, but rather a spectrum, and the same thing for sexuality as well. Intersex is probably a term that many people have not heard of before, but it's estimated that approximately 2% of the population is born with some degree of intersexuality, which is a term that refers to someone born with biological sex characteristics that aren't traditionally associated with male or female bodies. Rather than construct a third or several other sex categories to recognize these naturally occurring bodies, our society chooses to force intersex people into either the male or the female sex. And again, this is because our society operates under this social structure of heteronormativity, which serves to reinforce the gender binary, because heterosexual people, cisgender people, have a lot of power and privilege in our society. And if we apply a conflict theorist perspective to this, when people have power, they're able to build society in ways that enables them to maintain that power, to maintain that privilege, to give them a leg up in society. Now, I included a brief video on intersex individuals in the weekly content that goes into, or that in which a number of intersex individuals share their experiences with the healthcare system, with the medical industry and doctors that really try to force them to conform or surgically alter their bodies, oftentimes to fit into either the male or female body paradigm in the US. And as you can imagine, that can be very problematic, very traumatizing for those individuals, for these infants to have these non-consensual surgeries performed on them. And then as they get older, especially going through puberty, as their body starts to produce different levels of hormones, they feel like they're trapped inside the wrong bodies, and then later come to find that as infants, they were surgically altered to conform to the gender binary. So really interesting. That video does a good job explaining intersexuality a little bit more, and it's also touched on in the documentary The Gender Revolution as well. So homophobia and transphobia are these systems of oppression and discrimination against the LGBT plus community stemming from heteronormativity. So homophobia is the dislike or prejudice towards gay people, transphobia is the dislike or prejudice towards transgender people, and both the heterosexual privilege and the cisgender privilege checklist provide several different examples of the way LGBT plus people experience oppression on a daily basis. So what did homophobia and transphobia look like today? Well, while same-gender marriage is now legal in the US, many states, including Texas, still legally allow discrimination against LGBT plus people. And I should have updated this because, like I mentioned, just 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court passed a rule that it is no longer legal at the federal level to discriminate against people based off their gender and sexual orientation. So that's a very recent advancement in LGBT plus equality. But like I said, even though these institutional measures measures are taking place and changing to help protect the rights of LGBT plus people, they still experience a lot of interpersonal oppression. And in many states, employers and landlords and shop owners still have biases against people, similar to the forms of redlining that we talked about when we talked about racial injustices. Those same oppressive behaviors are acted out towards the LGBT plus community. In many states, same-gender couples can still be denied the right to adopt children, and trans people are required to have surgery on their genitalia if they want to change their gender